What's going on, guys? Emmanuel right here, and welcome to EME Forex YouTube educational channel. So, in today's video, we're going to do like a follow up on our previous video on fundamental analysis. So, in this particular one, we're going to be talking about fundamental analysis that has to do with no data essentially. So, if you're new to the channel, know what to subscribe, turn on notifications so that you get updates like this. And let's get down to the video. All right, so basically, we're going to be looking at news announcements that has to do with like speech. So first off, for having major speech from the Fed, speech like FOMC, and also we have other latest speech like for having the ECB governor, an example like the ECB governor, giving a major press conference, and you have some other speech that like comes out from major monetary sources. And now, when we're having ongoing speech like this, the market usually reacts. But due to the fact that it's a speech, you don't really have like the data that you can use to back up this speech. Now, the speech might swing price to the upside at some points, the opposite direction, and you might just get a choppy movement on your chart, depending on the instrument you're looking to trade. Now, the other thing we want to take a look at now are geopolitical events like elections. Now, if we're having elections happening across major economic zones in the financial space, like the US now, we're having like an election that has to be like a change in the presidential position. We're going to be looking at significant reaction from the dollar-related pairs, and also any other political related positions that has to do with key positions within the economy. These are also going to affect the financial space. Now we're also looking at things like holiday as well. So when there is bank holiday, the market usually have lower volatility and activities are way lesser than how they should. The reason being because banks facilitate major FX transactions, and when the banks are closed or once they are not very active in the market, liquidity tends to go down. So now this brings me to the next section, which we're going to jump onto my charts, and I'm going to screen share to show you guys economic calendars and how you can calibrate these calendars to have access to these news feeds like the fundamental analysis that has to do with the NFP, CP, and the likes of it, and also this is very one we're discussing now. So let's jump onto my screen. All right, so we are inside of my screen now, and what we're going to do is that we're going to quickly set up our economic calendar. So to do that, I'll move over to our browser and you know type in forexfactory.com. So forexfactory.com is one of the go-to economic calendars that traders use to size up news events that are coming up and also be ahead of the market. So what we want to do now is we want to optimize the news feed we're going to be getting here. First off is the time zone. We want to set the time zone that is in line with your geolocation. And next up is also creating an account with firstfactory.com to enable you do the most out of here. And next up is like we want to filter out the significant news release that we're going to be focusing on. We don't want to have all news announcements, just one the major ones. But if you still want to have everything, it's fine. So once you click on this here, it's going to give you this breakdown here. First, we have high impact news, which is very important. That's the red folder. We have the orange folder, which is a news release that's intermediate. This news announcement will come out as a regular news, but probably at the end of that news schedule, it turned out to be like a high impact news. So we still want that on watch. Then we have the yellow folder, which is like the regular folder. I don't really want to have this on my watch. Then we have you know the ash folder, which is like for bank holidays here. So once we're done with that, the next is to have all of these boxes checked. So these are like event types. We talked about growth, which is essentially GDP, we talked about inflation in a previous video, which is around CPI and interest rates, and also um, other announcements involving banks like the BOE, the BOJ, the Fed, the ECB. Now, over to this other section here, we have a list of currencies that we want to have on our watch. So, and also, select the ones we want as well. Then next up is you know this place that we have the calendar. So from here you can go back in time and see how past events unfolded, how we have previous NFP where the figures before the next one which you're going to be expecting. So NFP are usually rolled out every first Friday of the month, of the trading month, and after NFP we usually have CPI in line. So let's take a look at a few news release that's scheduled for the week we are currently. So if we take a look at, let's go over to our home screen. So on our home screen here for Monday, we're having Euro PMI announcement. That's the manufacturing PMI. It's closely tied to what we're looking at for the gross domestic product. Is like closely tied to it. So this here is like the level of division index based on surveyed purchasing managers in the manufacturing industry. So we have the stats for the previous month, and also we have like the speculation for current month. You can quickly, run through all of these things. Now next up we have other high impact news for other currencies as well, for pound, for USD as well, and they are all PMI news for the week. Now we also have CPI for the Australian dollar, which is on Wednesday for 2:30 a.m. Then we have FOMC, which is one of those which uh, we talked about earlier in this video, that this is like a press conference that we don't necessarily have um, the data or like the stats to back this up. So if we open this data now and we look at the previous historical um, news on this subject, you see that there is no data here. So that's why we're having the news release with data and the one without data, like I explained earlier. Now we can also, read through and see all of the major things that to look out for when we're talking about, FOMC. So that's about it, guys. So with these guys, I believe, yeah, we've been able to, cover us well when it comes to fundamental analysis. All right, so that's about it for the video on fundamental analysis. We've been able to cover, two major parts when it comes to fundamental analysis. So do well to, set up your Forex Factory account and, configure it in a way that it brings you all of these news announcements and all of the necessary information on point. And also, one major thing you need to do is to also pay attention to the market when there is the major news schedule coming out. Might not necessarily trade. You might just want to, just observe and see how the volatility in the market is, like how super active the market becomes within the news hour, ranging from when we have the likes of NFP, CPI, and also we're having speech from major monetary agencies, and also from FOMC and all of those things. So that'll be all for now, guys. Do want to share the video if it's helpful, drop a comment, like, and turn on notifications. I will see you on the next one.